What if I told you there's a 4,000-year-old gate still standing in northern Israel, and that this gate may have been seen, or even walked through, by Abraham himself, a man who left everything he knew to follow the voice of God into the unknown, a man who fathered nations, and whose faith changed history? Archaeologists have uncovered a monumental Bronze Age gate system with triple arches and sun-baked bricks, still intact. It's not only ancient, it's strategically located in a place the Bible calls Dan. And that's where the story gets incredible. This isn't just about a gate, it's about whether the stories of the Bible are rooted in myth or material evidence. But don't skip ahead, because what we uncover at the end of this video will shift how you see the Bible and your own faith journey forever. Stick around to the end, because what's hidden in the stones of Tel Dan might just be the key to one of the oldest mysteries in Scripture. Nestled near the borders of Lebanon and Syria, at the foot of Mount Hermon, lies the ancient city of Tel Dan. Known in earlier times as Laish, this region was home to fortified settlements long before Israelite tribes ever entered Canaan. In the 1960s and 70s, Israeli archaeologist Avraham Biran led a series of excavations that would change the landscape of biblical archaeology. Among his most stunning discoveries was a massive mud brick gate, over 7 meters tall, built around 1750 BCE. This structure wasn't a pile of rubble. It stood intact. A triple-arched gateway flanked by defensive towers, made from sun-dried bricks resting on a basalt foundation. Byron and his team were stunned. The gate was not only structurally impressive, it was strategically positioned at the entrance to ancient Laish. Soon it gained a new name, Abraham's Gate. Why Abraham? Why connect this structure to the Patriarch? Let's turn to Genesis 14. A chapter often overlooked but historically rich. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken captive, he mobilized the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. Genesis 14:14. This verse marks the first mention of Dan in the Bible. At the time, Abraham, still Abram, is living in Hebron when he learns that his nephew Lot has been taken by a coalition of kings from the east. He mounts a daring rescue operation and chases them north, pursuing the raiders as far as Dan. Now here's the thing. Scholars widely agree that Dan is a later editorial insertion, since the city wouldn't be called that until centuries later, in Judges 1829. But regardless of the naming timeline, the geography is solid. Abraham travelled north, and the only city of significance at that location was Laish, later Dan. And the gate that stands today? It's the only surviving structure from that era at that location. Could Abraham have walked through this very gate? It's possible. If not this exact one, perhaps one that stood in its place before this construction. Either way, this is the closest physical link we have to Abraham's journey as recorded in Scripture. Let's zoom in on the structure itself. The gate is composed of 3 sequential arches, forming a rare and early example of this architectural technique. There are tower structures flanking the entrance, likely manned by guards, and chambers that would have controlled entry into the fortified city. This type of construction predates the Roman arch by over 1,000 years. The bricks? Sun-dried mud, stacked in layers, remarkably preserved beneath the soil for nearly 4 millennia. It's an early testament to urban planning and military strategy. What makes it extraordinary is that while most Bronze Age gates have completely eroded or crumbled, this one remained standing. Modern archaeologists placed a protective roof over it to ensure its continued survival. Even the Israel Antiquities Authority acknowledges this gate as one of the most important architectural finds in the country. After the time of Abraham, Dan became an important city in Israel's tribal and religious history. In Judges 18, we're told that the tribe of Dan captured the city of Laish and renamed it Dan. They rebuilt the city and lived in it. They named it Dan after their forefather, who was born to Israel, though the city used to be called Laish. Judges 18:28-29. Later, in the time of King Jeroboam, Dan became one of the two centers of idolatrous worship. And he set one golden calf in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. 1 Kings 12:29. So we have a city that began with a heroic rescue, transformed into a tribal stronghold, and eventually became a place of spiritual corruption. That layered history makes Abraham's Gate all the more meaningful. It represents not just the beginning of faith, but also the falling away that Scripture warns against. It's a living metaphor, standing at the crossroads of faith and failure. Skeptics have long argued that the early chapters of Genesis are purely mythological. But the archaeological record at Tel Dan tells another story. In addition to Abraham's Gate, Tel Dan is also the site of the Tel Dan stele, an Aramaic inscription dating to the 9th century BCE. It's the first archaeological reference to the House of David. This find shattered decades of doubt that David ever existed as a historical figure. So now we have a gate at the northern frontier of ancient Canaan, matching Genesis 14. A stele referencing King David, matching 2 Samuel. Fortifications and temples, matching biblical accounts in Kings and Chronicles. The more we dig, the more the Bible is confirmed in its geography, its politics, and its people. This doesn't erase the need for faith, but it strengthens the bridge between belief and evidence. And in an age when faith is often seen as fiction, finds like Abraham's Gate remind us the Bible is not a book of legends. It's a record of lives, of kingdoms, and of covenants. So what does all this mean for us? We may never know if Abraham touched those ancient stones, but the truth is, he didn't have to for them to matter. This gate stands as a monument to faith and a warning against forgetting. It reminds us of a man who left comfort behind to follow God into uncertainty. It reminds us that history and holiness are often woven into the same ground. And it reminds us that we too stand before gates, not of mudbrick and basalt, but of opportunity, calling, and obedience. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called, and he went out, not knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11:8. The question is, will you walk through the gates set before you? If this video stirred something in you, don't just watch and scroll. Engage, share, reflect. Drop a comment below. Faith still walks through ancient gates. Because you stayed until the end, you now carry the story, not just of Abraham, but of the God who called him. And he may be calling you.